Hello folks, I'm planning to do 3 video segments on something that's very fundamental in Catia, and it's called basically the sketcher. Any two-dimensional drawing that you draw is going to be on the sketcher. However, there are certain options there that are not quite well explained in the documentation, and even some of the other good video tutorials that you see on YouTube and elsewhere. They don't always concentrate on some of these subtle aspects. However, I'm going to be doing this thing in 3 segments. The first one is going to be Sketcher, where the option of a sliding is used. That is the default. And then Sketcher when the position sketch is used. And finally, the issue of the isolated curve in the sketcher. Okay, so the first one obviously is what I call the sliding. So we want to know why is it called sliding. Why don't we go ahead and make a few geometries. First of all, I'm going to create let's see now 4 points. So let's do a geometrical set here, and I'm going to call it points. And the coordinates, I've already decided on what these coordinates are. So let's do 0, 4, 0. This is the first point. Another one is going to be 3, 5, 2. 3, 5, and 2. Okay. The third one is 0, 4, 2. 0, 4, 2. And the last one is going to be 3, 6, 3. 3, 6, and 3. Okay. All right. Now let's make 2 planes. So I'm going to make insert a geometrical set. You don't have to do these things. It's just that it makes it better organized. So planes. All right. Okay. So the first plane is going to be between points 1. Let's see, 1, 2, and 3. So plane 1 is going to be 1, 2, 3. This is a method of making plane through 3 points. 3 points. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3. Okay, you can see that this is a slanted plane, as you can see that. It's at an angle with respect to the global one. And the second plane is going to be between 1, 2, and 4. So it's going to be 1, 2, and 4. And this is another slanted one. As a matter of fact, what I'm going to do is the same thing, except that I'll do 4, 2, and 1. Let me see, 4, 2, and 1. Where is it? Yeah, right there. Okay. It really doesn't matter. I just wanted to make the scene better. Okay, good. Now, let us make some geometry here. So these are 2 slanted planes. So for example, on the YZ plane, I will sketch. Let's go back to part design. Part body. So make it active and create a geometry on the YZ plane. And I'm going to make it something that you can easily detect. So it's going to be something, a wedge-like object like that. Okay, and make it nice and symmetric. So the left point, control, right point, and control the middle axis. We're going to make it symmetric. There are other ways, of course, that you can simply. There we are. Okay, good. And exit. And I'm going to pad this thing. I'm going to pad it a tiny amount so that at least you can see something on the screen. So maybe 0.1, let's see. Yeah, good. So if you look at the front view, of how we started, there we are. These 3 planes that you see in the middle, these are the global XYZ plane. So the part of the origin part is right at the intersection of these things, right where the cursor is, right there in the middle. Okay. Now, it is obvious that this wedge that I made is symmetric with respect to that vertical plane, which is XZ plane. Good. Okay. Now let's go to this pad. I'm gonna collapse these things. Let's go to this pad, and why don't we bring this thing here so that you can see it? Okay. Let's go to this pad, and there's the sketch. I want to change the support of the sketch. Right now, the sketch is in the YZ plane, and it's drawn so that this vertical line, which is actually the XZ plane, it looks like it's the axis of symmetry of this wedge. So I'm going to change this thing. Right click, change it to a different plane. This is sliding, and instead of YZ plane where I drew it in, I'm going to select this plane and say OK. All right. You might say, wow, okay, what's the big deal? Well, nothing. So first of all, let's look at this plane, see what happened. Let's look at the different. I'm going to rotate these things so that you can see what's going on. Right there. So we change the support of that sketch to this slanted plane. Fine, no problem. And in fact, let us change it back the support back to the YZ plane. So one more time, you put the cursor here, right click, change the sketch support, change it to once again the YZ plane, and say OK, and no big deal. You can see that if you look at the front view, once again you end up where you started. Great. So what I want to do now is to do this thing by going first change the support to this plane, the one that we just did a minute ago, and then change it to that plane and back to the YZ plane. All right, so this takes some effort. So let's see now, very easy. So change the space support from where it is now, from where it is to YZ. Remember, this is sliding that we're doing, YZ. We just did this thing a minute ago. And one more time, change the sketch support to this time this plane. OK. And back to YZ. Right click, change the sketch support to YZ. And we say OK. And look at what happened. In other words, we started with our plane so that the YZ plane was the axis of symmetry of this wedge. But it looks like it has actually slided. Remember, it was like this. It was vertical like that. But if we change the support once and we put it back in YZ, well, you couldn't see what happened. But if you did it twice and you put it on two slanted, curves, when you come back to where you started, it has slided. Now, this will not happen if the planes have a very special orientation. You start somewhere, you do a few change of support, you come back. You may end up at the same location, but there's no guarantee, as you can see. Okay? This is why this particular option is called sliding option. In fact, if you look at let's hypothetically say that we try to make another sketch. See here, XY plane, on the XY plane, which is this orangish thing that you see here. Notice there is two icons here. One of them says sketch, and this is the standard thing that people get exposed to when they learn Catia first. If you say sketch, by default, this by default is a sliding one. In fact, if you want to, by default, this is going to be sliding. Of course, you can change it. You can change it. For example, let me draw something here. Here, let's. Where is my origin? The local origin is down there. So if I draw something here, what is this? That's an ellipse. No, I want a circle. Okay, so let's draw a circle here. exit. Okay. If you look at this sketch, this is the one that I just drew. All right. So if you say, all right, let's change the support, notice that the default that was used to do this thing was sliding. Cancel. And okay, this is one thing that I wanted to show you, but there's something else. So let me close this. Let me close this. We're still dealing with a sliding situation. So I'm going to close this. I don't want to save it. So let's start with another part file. This is also interesting part. All right. So let's go ahead and draw something. For example, a rectangle like that. Okay. Now, I'm going to put some dimensions, but here's the way I'm going to do that. So, dimension between this edge, and I'm gonna pick this yellow line, yellow axis vertical. You might say, well, does it matter? Is there anything else that you can pick? Yeah, you can pick. Well, obviously, in this setup right now, nothing. But I'll show you what else is it that you can actually pick. So one more time, between this horizontal axis, horizontal edge, and this horizontal axis. All right. So we say exit. All right, and I can pad it, of course. Okay, so let me pad this thing. I was not intending, because it's really, that's not really critical to the padding. So 0.1. Okay, good. All right. I want to show you that although it looked like we put some dimensions between the edges of this rectangle and the axes, those axes were not the global axis. In fact, I can move this thing. If I move this thing and put it there, you notice that I can actually grab this and move it, and there's no problem. So I did put some dimensions, constrain it, but those dimensions, because I picked the yellow axis, horizontal and vertical axis, or the local axis, and you can still move the object. This is why when you look at some of the tutorials that are in excellent tutorials that are on YouTube, some of the presenters, what they do is every time that they go to the sketch, they hide the yellow U and V axis, because they want to make sure that you don't make accidentally, inadvertently, some constraints that you didn't mean it. In many cases, what they do is they create a coordinate axis, okay, coordinate system, and they may be putting the constraint between those coordinate systems. So let me show you. Let me show what I have in mind. Okay, so let me undo this. Let me undo it. This is where we started. All right, and I'm going to go and actually delete this entire thing. Delete the entire pad. Where is it? Delete the pad. Just give it a second. I think my computer went into a state of coma. It does happen every once in a while. It'll be out of it in a minute. So I'm going to create this coordinate system which sits right at the global origin. All right, so let's delete that sketch. Fine. So how do we create a coordinate system? You can either do it from axis system, which is somewhere here, right there. You see that axis system? You can do it from here, or you can say insert axis system. Does the same thing. By default, it's going to put it at the global origin, which is right there. Incidentally, you can make the size of this thing bigger, so you go to Tools, Options, and I would like to do that. Tools, Options, and let's go to Infrastructure, Part Infrastructure, and I believe under Display, the axis system size can be changed here. So I'll put it in 250 or something like that. It's easier to see what's going on. All right. All right. So here we are. Okay, I don't particularly, this was too big, so let me make it a little bit smaller. Tools, options. Let me put it down to maybe 27. Okay, that's probably more like it. All right, now I want to plot something, but in fact, I'm going to hide these. See, these are the planes that we started with. Always you start with. So let's hide these things. This one and that one and that one. I'm going to hide them. You can still see your axis system, okay? And on a, I don't plot sketch on these. For example, I'm going to sketch on, let's say, on the YZ plane, and this YZ plane belongs to the axis system. You can see that, the global, okay? So you sketch on it. There's a sketcher. That rectangle that I did a couple of minutes ago, like there. And now, in fact, I'm going to hide these yellow thingies, the yellow axis, to make sure that I don't use them. Okay, now let's do some dimensions. So dimension between this axis and this edge and this axis, and another one between this edge and that axis. Okay, exit and pad it a little bit. We don't need to pad because all we need is to play with that sketch, yeah. So let's see if we can move it now. I'm going to move this thing here, and let's see if we can. Let's see if we can translate it. See? Because you created a global coordinate system, and you created dimensions between the edges of that sketch and the global coordinate system. There is no way you can move it because you constrained it. Okay? Impossible to move some elements in the family or fixed axis system 1. You can isolate and replace them with datum elements. So let me close this, by the way. Let me close that. Let me close that. Go here and change the sketch support, or well, we can say isolate. You can say isolate, okay? Or you can go and in all likelihood change it from here too. So let's actually do. Let's go and do it here. Okay, so all right, I went there, and you can either say isolate, okay, and now because it's an isolated thing, it still won't let you do it. So that's okay. So you go here and you say isolate, okay? What I did was from there, that obviously does not work. Isolate from here, and let's see. Yep. Okay, so I just completed the video segment for what isolated sketches are, okay? And this last minute I tried to do it by detour, it didn't work, but you isolate the curvature work. The next video clip is going to be on position sketches, and finally it's going to be on the isolated selection in the sketch.